What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Kickin with Kachi. We're back out here in the studio just so I can sit down with amazing DJ, vibe curator, and event planner, DJ Kwame. How you doing, man? How you doing?
I'm good. I'm really good. I'm really glad to be here. Thank you so much.
So, obviously, elephant in the room, we're both black guys, right?
Yes.
Vermont doesn't have many people that look like us.
No.
How did you end up not only getting to Vermont, but kind of also establishing yourself as a premier voice in radio, event spaces, vibe curation, all that good stuff? How did you kind of find yourself in a place like this and doing things that you do?
Well, I'm going to tell you the shocking truth here is I've actually lived in Vermont 3 times.
Ah, okay.
Once upon a time, there was this invisible line above Massachusetts that I didn't cross, even though my family members did. But I just didn't cross it. I came up here because I was looking for my first full-time job in radio. I was living in Connecticut. I was teaching full-time, and I was working part-time at 5 different stations trying to build my career. And finally, I sent out, after being rejected so many times from so many different stations around the country, they said I wasn't ready yet. This station in Rutland, Vermont, they responded to me and they gave me the call and asked me to come up for an interview, and then the rest was history. I was there from 2011 to 2012. Then I went to Memphis for a bit, and then they asked me to come back in 2013, where I stayed until 2016. And there's been moves around, and then I returned to Vermont in 2021 after the plague ended. So yeah, I've been here before. I met a lot of people, and I had a good network here. So creating something here wasn't a hard part. It's maintaining it.
Right.
You know, getting things is easy. Maintaining those things is hard.
Right. And how I first got introduced to Kwame was you were at 95.5. I don't know the exact...
Triple X.
Triple X, there we go. Triple X 95.5. And I'm just driving through Burlington, and I'm an old boomer Gen Z guy, and I love listening to the radio. And, usually, obviously, the radio is just kind of, background music, but then you were playing that was the first time I heard Luther on the radio in Vermont, right? I heard music, the Big X song with the country guy, right? On the radio, you were playing music that was in my wheelhouse, my cultural wheelhouse, right? And I don't know how you didn't get calls, because I immediately, to this day, my roommate's like, this guy's voice is amazing, right? So what was that experience like, right, kind of once you got to a point that third time you're at Triple X and you have kind of years and social equity with people out here in the state as well as in New England, and you kind of create, this solidified version of the Kwame vibe.
Right.
What was that experience like in seeming like a leader, right? Not someone that was trying to find your way, trying to find a role, but now actually leading a charge in radio in this space?
First of all, thank you for the compliment on my voice, because when I hear myself talk, I still sound like a 12-year-old kid to me.
What?
Which means that I guess I had a voice
What?
like that at 12. For me, coming back to the community, especially, first of all, going to 95 Triple X was on a bucket list. Now, people that live here that may not have ever lived here, or they're not familiar with the ins and outs of the radio business, but nationally, the 95 Triple X brand is known amongst radio people.
Right, right.
So when I was on the beach in Portland and the recruiter called me and said, "Hey, Kwame, I got a gig for you." "Oh, where is it?" It's in Vermont. And I said, "I've already been there twice." He said, "It's 95 Triple X. They're looking for a guy like you." And I said, "All right, I'll see what they have to say." Because, it's a legendary brand that so many talented people have come through the doors of and left and gone to do big things in radio and records, and some even television.
Right.
In this community, I knew what it meant to be a brand ambassador for that. And one thing that I knew it was missing for a while was a lot of community connections. So I kind of went out and I went to the community, went to all the nonprofit organizations, went everywhere that I could to let people know that, hey, 95 Triple X, the brand is still in business and we're doing new things and we've got new people, watch what we're doing. And because a lot of people remember the shows that were on there before, the legendary shows like Mike and Chantel. They remember L.A. Reid. They remember Ben Hamilton. They remember all of these people, but there had been a while where they had been able to connect with people on the station. So I built a lot of community connections to build equity for the station and bring it back to where it was.
Why is radio, do you feel like, why is this so important, right? I can imagine like me growing up, Gen Z, growing up the radio was how I got put on to new music, right? Like if you didn't have an iTunes, you were FrostWire kind of torrenting it or listen to the radio and listen to the hot songs. Today, it may not feel like radio is quote unquote as important. Obviously, our conversation before the interview, I very much still listen to the radio. What role was radio for you? Why was radio such a passion for you? And what impact did you want to have on the people that listen to you?
Radio was important to me, especially as I was young, when I was living in Connecticut, and then the time I spent abroad in Ghana years back. Radio was important to me because I'm just going to be a little honest. I was a little bad kid, and I was on punishment for about 3 years. And it wasn't like go to your room for 3 years. It was like every time I was about to get off punishment, a report card would come out.
And you're right back.
Yeah, and
exactly,
right back.
Right.
So the radio was all I had. And then eventually I used to make tapes of myself being a radio host and everything, but I didn't take it seriously as I could actually do this until college, when I was looking to go into something. And I said, okay, I'll be in a communications major. And that's when I realized that I really did love radio. And for me, what was important to me is, I love music, number one. That's the most cliche answer, but I could be around music doing anything. Number two, there was a guy that was on late night in Hartford, Connecticut. He's on, and he lives in Vermont now, but he lived in Hartford and was doing a show, and his name was Michael Mays. And I used to listen to him every weeknight, and he would do this late night dedication thing. He'd be like, and it started playing Love Mays, who, and then he ripped the record off. All right, everybody, if you want to call in for dedications, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And
you kind of adopted that, actually, when you did the Kwame vibe. You had people calling in too to kind of get your jam going too in a little bit, yeah.
I mean, I did what I could. I try to connect with the listeners in the way that I heard him do it, and then eventually people like Tom Joyner, people like Wendy Williams, T.T. Torres, all the people that I grew up listening to. And so, but what it really clicked to me for the community thing, and I'll stop babbling because I know you got tons more questions.
No, please, continue, please.
I was working in Vermont the first time, and I had this general manager she was like the woman in The Devil Wears Prada, except not as posh.
Oh.
And
all the bossy.
Yes, she was not as posh, but she would come in every day stomping in her heels with her designer purse and get in her office and everything. One day I'm walking by, she's like, you need to do something. And I'm like, what do you mean? I'm doing my work. Like, no, you need to get out there and do something in the community, even if it's getting in trouble. Now, getting in trouble is not exactly what I adopted, but it took me a minute to realize that she was saying I need to build my community profile. And once that finally clicked, the rest was history.
Right. And then I would say, in building community, we can talk as also about your trip to Ghana, right? Having the dual experience of U.S. American bred and living up here, music, culture, all the isms that comes with being on this soil. Now traveling back to ancestral place, heritage, culture. How did that impact how you view your work and how you view yourself as a person, right? And kind of your place in the mix-up of it all, I guess, of life?
Well, it impacted me as a person because there are certain things about each and every one of us that are developed because of where we grew up and who we grew up with.
Right.
And there are other parts of us that just are what they are, no matter where you are. Like, I'm watching relatives of mine that I haven't spent that much time with, and they're doing things that I do.
Yeah, you do, right? Yeah.
And
yeah.
they're saying things that I would say. And we don't even have the same reference point or viewpoint. And it made me really reflect upon myself about who I am, what I'm willing to accept about myself, and who I want to be.
Right.
And that also, that definitely affects how I interact with members of the community. And, playing a gig over there also helped too,
Yeah.
playing a nice little bar over there, not getting booed helps.
Yeah.
And, when you're doing an Afro beats
Right,
night in
right.
Ghana,
In Ghana, right?
and you grew up most of your life in the U.S.,
right.
and everyone loves it. And I was like, okay, I'm doing something right. And so to me, the art in general is having enough life to be able to relate to people on their level.
Right.
Like, as a radio personality, I worked in pop radio, but it wasn't so much for me about pop culture. It was about, what does the person on the other side of the radio, what are they thinking about? And how can I make this pop culture thing relevant to them instead of just talking about the thing?
Right, right.
Because if you can take these famous people and humanize them, people are more likely to relate.
Right. And then after such a tenured years in radio, right? Like, so many people, so much, like I said, social equity, so much brand, so much time getting out there, having trouble. Recently stepped away from 95.5 to venture into your own entertainment ecosystem. Right, exactly.
Yes.
What was the thought process there, right? Because it said, like, radio entertainment, that's you, right? Like, I don't think I can think of best DJs, best entertainers in Vermont and not think of the Kwame vibe, right? But obviously attached to 95.5 because that's how I introduced myself to you.
Right.
So in stepping away from that connection, that network, and then kind of utilizing your own manpower, your own creativity, and then forging ahead, how was that? Like, what was that like, kind of making that decision? Was there anxiety, angst? Was there back and forth about it? Or were it kind of like, hey, this is just a natural next step for me to kind of go out on my own?
So let me explain the psychology of it. A lot of people, when they leave radio or television, they get scared because they don't think of anything else they could do. They don't think they're good at anything else. Or they think that everyone will just forget them. And to a certain extent, that can happen. But what allowed me to know that I would be okay after we part ways was, before 95 XXX, I was running a station in Portland, Maine.
Right.
And the company had 2 waves of layoffs during the pandemic. And in the second wave, I lost my job. So I was sitting at home watching X-Men cartoons and driving DoorDash for 6 months while all of the chaos ensued in the rest of the world.
As all creatives do.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I still made friends. I still was treated like a normal person, like a human being. And I didn't feel as though people didn't genuinely have love for me, which is, a lot of people don't feel that. And I knew even then, I was like, well, I'm going to be all right if I don't do radio again.
Right.
I'm going to be okay. And to be honest, I was looking to be a museum curator before I got the call.
Oh, wow.
Before I got the call to come to XXX, I was going to be a museum curator. And
wait, did you have any experience in curating museums, or were you just hit and see what hits the wall, right? Or
I'm a curator in general.
Right, exactly.
So I was going to do that, and then I got the call, and XXX was like a bucket list. Those call letters, WXXX, are bucket list call letters in the radio industry. So when my time there ended and we parted ways, I said, I'm DJing now. I've got a name for myself. I'm going to continue to do that.
Right.
And lo and behold, I kept getting booked. My social media was on point. I started doing things north of the border. I got my LLC, and the Kwame Vibe Presents is a thing. I've got several club residencies, 3 here, 1 in Montreal that I'm starting at the end of next week. And I'm still entertaining people. I'm just connecting with them in a slightly different way. Because what this really is about to me is creating an environment where people can enjoy themselves and be themselves.
Right.
I know that I'm a facilitator for those things, but I know I'm not the main character. So that's the long answer to your question.
I mean, that's wonderful. And like I said, how is it different now, right? Because being on the radio for so long, you don't see the impact. And obviously you've DJ'd while you've radioed, right? So you've had those events, but now doing it fully. And you also now have other people, right? You have other DJs that you also are working with to help them get exposure, right? So
Right.
kind of moving from like, how Kendrick Lamar said, I'm not trying to be the rapper, I'm trying to be the boss, right?
Right.
Kind of having a similar vibe too, where the Kwame Presents now is an entire ecosystem of DJs, like you said, residencies. How is that now? How is that whirlwind now, right? Because before it was like, okay, I'm gonna figure it out, continue what I'm doing. But now it seems like there's a new Pandora's box of things that you have to kind of tackle and also enjoy, right? Through this new thing.
Yeah. One of the things I liked about radio was being a program director or brand manager, I got to help develop talent that was coming in and help them get better. And that part of me comes from a previous life when I was a teacher. And so I enjoyed that part. So working with these DJs that may not have all of the connections and all of the, because we're all good at different things.
Right.
Like there are DJs that work with me that I think pound for pound, when I listen to their mix and I listen to my mix, I'm like, I know I'm good, but I know that there are a couple of people that work for me that are good.
Yeah, right.
They are amazing.
Right.
But they may not have that other part of the package. I just want to see people do well.
Yeah.
I have a wedding that I'm going to do tomorrow, but there was a thing a couple of months ago where I was like, oh my God, what if I go to Ghana and I just have a Dave Chappelle moment and I just don't come back? And I asked a very prominent DJ to city, like, if I don't come back, do this lady's wedding for her. And I called the lady and said, hey, if I have a Dave Chappelle moment, call such and such.
Right.
And she's like, oh my God, you got someone that he's even more prominent than you. And I'm like, only insecure people get people that aren't as good as or better than them.
Right.
That doesn't really, what would that do for the client if it was like, oh man, it would have been better if Kwame was here? That's not good for the client. I want people to have the best experience possible because I know I'm going to get my get back. I know that I'm always going to have a place where I can shine somewhere. So it's nothing wrong with letting somebody else shine. I think a lot of times in show business, people are so threatened and feeling like someone's going to replace them or they're going to be forgotten, that people a lot of times, they do a lot of this, whereas that's not my thing.
Has there been, radio has crazy moments, right? I'm talking about Jay-Z sneaking in and playing the tapes and all these other things. Do you have any moments that stick with you from your entertainment radio days that, and obviously, this is not a PG show, right? So, hey, grandmas and moms, if you're watching right now, if you need to take a minute to catch your breath, do it. But listen, hey, we're all grown here. That's all I'm gonna say. But now you can answer.
There was a couple of stalker situations with
Ooh, because you're so famous.
It wasn't for me.
Everyone wants the vibe. Everyone wants to see what the vibe is like.
No. The stalker was not for me. It was for someone that worked for me. And we had to change the times in which she worked. And then we would have to hire security to be with her and everything. And the stalker was actually somebody else who worked at the station's son.
Oh my gosh.
But he was going through it at the time. Now he's a real good kid, know? And so it's good to see people come out of that on the other side. And then when I was working in PA, the song Post Malone, which one was it? Better Now came out. I get called into my general manager's office. My general manager's there, the HR lady's there, my operations manager. And I already left for the day, and they asked me to come back.
This is a Friday? Oh, no. Man.
This was a Monday. And I had just moved into a loft.
Jeez.
I just moved into my loft, so I'm like, oh, sweet Jesus.
Oh, my gosh.
And my ops manager asked me to come back to the building. I said, I'm not in trouble, so I come back, and they play me this voicemail. And there was this guy on the other end of the phone and says, stop playing that Post Malone song over and over again. Tell that I'm going to come down there. And, so this guy was threatening to, off me if I didn't stop playing the Post Malone song that everyone loved. And he actually dropped the N-word right there. And they're like, Kwame, we're sorry. Is there anything we can do? I was like, well, I'm not really afraid because this is just kind of the world I live in.
Right.
But they had to call the FBI and
Oh
everything.
my gosh.
Yeah, it was nuts.
Is that kind of like a compliment though, that someone hates you so much that they listen to you that often to then leave a voicemail to say stop playing the song that I keep hearing all the time? Is that kind of like a a kind of a backwards compliment in a way? Like, you hate me that much that you keep me on your mind that long?
Maybe. I mean, this version of Kwame now probably would feel that way. Back then, I was just more. I was like, wow, like this guy really risked it all, Back then, I was much more turn the other cheek, and just now I'm just like, okay,
Keep it back of your head, right?
yeah.
What do you kind of view? How do you view the party, club, radio, scene, entertainment scene now? Like I said, seasoned vet in the game. How do you kind of see it versus obviously when you first started out, right? And like I said, when I was growing up, I think radio was like big up until maybe 20s, maybe pandemic, right? The rise of the podcast and social media being on the face of it, right? Is that kind of, how do you kind of view the sphere now that you're now stepping in a lot more full time and curating these vibes?
All right, I'll start with radio and then I'll go to the party scene. Radio, when I was working in Seattle, I looked at the monthly ratings and I realized that in that market in Seattle, and some stations bled in from Vancouver north of us, there were 31 stations in the market. Now, Seattle is the tech city.
Right.
And all the technology that we have now, they're getting it 6 months in advance at this point. So it's 2016, there's 30-something stations in that market. 30-something. And I said, there's no way anyone can listen to all these stations.
Right.
Like, there's probably a couple thousand people listening to like the bottom 20 stations, and then the top 10 stations have a lion's share of listeners. So why are we doing all this? So you're just throwing formats, you're throwing money out the window. What I think is going to happen is owners are going to start utilizing their multiple frequencies instead of for multiple brands, but putting one brand on multiple frequencies. So putting their best product in different places.
Right.
So that way they can have the best station. It's going to cost them less money and they're going to get more return on their investment. Because the media landscape between YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, Apple Podcast, it's oversaturated. And then you have all the streaming platforms that are now eating themselves up to become cable again.
Right.
All of those platforms. So the landscape is fractured so much that people are going to have to realize that less is more. And that's probably going to happen when ego gets out of the way. Because a lot of people that run radio are, either they're corporations or they're elderly.
Yeah.
So ego has to get out of the way and bravado. As far as the party scene, let me tell you, I didn't realize how the party scene had changed until I DJ'd a club several months ago. Outside of Burlington. I'm not going to tell you where it was.
Why can't you tell me what it was?
No.
Was it a bad vibe? So you got to tell us what it was. I won't put you on the spot to do it, unless you want to.
So I went there a week before to scout the place. And it seemed like a very mixed crowd. Very nice club. Huge, like 2,000 people.
Oh, wow.
Met the owner, met the sound guy that does all the booking. And they were like, the whole capacity is 2,000. There's like 1,500 there that night.
Nice.
Youngest person there was probably 22. The oldest person there was probably 52.
Okay.
So I'm like,
bad.
I like a diverse crowd.
Right.
And I come back the next week to play my set, and that was not what I got. It was all college kids. Now, I am a house, Afro beats, EDM, and a throwback DJ.
Right.
There's a lot of stuff that they want that is not in my wheelhouse. Now they say the best DJs can play everything, which is probably true. I know that I occupy certain lanes. I don't claim to be the best DJ. I just know what vibe that I give the customers when they come to my show.
Right.
But the kids, their music was all over the place, what they wanted to hear. Some girl made it all the way to the DJ booth, which was upstairs on the second floor, and asked me to play Selena. And then people
Selena, like
the original Selena, not Selena
nice.
Gomez.
Oh wow, okay.
Yes. Selena, not Selena Gomez, not J-Lo.
Right. Selena.
They, how do I say? They wanted me to play like that slow song, and then there were people holding up their phones with the little request app and trying
Right, yeah.
And I felt completely out of my element. And the reason why is because you mentioned growing up with radio and what happened in the pandemic. We do not have a monoculture anymore.
Right.
Everyone lives in their own bubble with what they listen to. So trying to cater to a crowd of 2,000 college kids when there's like a group over here that likes country and then the other girls over here like next song because they don't like Kane Brown, and then you've got the group of kids down here that likes the Doors. Like trying to cater to that mix of people takes a special kind of DJ, and there's still DJs doing it, but as our monoculture continues to evaporate, it's going to happen less and less.
Right.
And I think more DJs are going to end up playing in their own lane. Like right now, I book events like people know what they're getting. I'm doing a throwback event at On Tap, or I'm doing a house and EDM night at Monkey House. I'm doing Afrobeats, and that's what the people are coming for.
Right.
I control the environment.
Right.
The environment doesn't control me. And any request has to be in those lanes.
And I would say, do you think that hurts or helps you as a DJ, right? Because in going to these spaces, I also kind of hate in where it's like, they're playing music and it's kind of like you said, all over the place, right? Like you get into a vibe, then it switches, it's like, the next 15 minutes, it's not really my vibe, right? Do you feel like this hurts you or helps you as a DJ? Because like you said, some DJs very much don't care to just keep switching up all night, whereas some get in their lane. They like to go to a place where they have, I'm gonna get my R&B, I'm gonna get my throwbacks, I'm gonna get my hip hop, I'm gonna get my Afro beats, or I'm getting my EDM, I'm getting my dance, but I know that's what I'm getting from that space.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, I think it helps me because, you know, it's kind of like you order Heinz ketchup. You go to the store and you buy Heinz ketchup.
Right.
You know what it's going to taste like. You know what it's going to be like on your burger, right? But, you know, for years, people didn't know McDonald's special sauce was Thousand Island dressing. So it's like, or what if they changed it every week?
Right.
You know, so a lot of times people are creatures of habit and they kind of want to know what they get for the most part. There's very little room for surprises nowadays. Thanks to the internet, there are no secrets.
Looking forward, right? Like, how does it feel to, obviously, I don't know how old you are. You got a little bit of gray in your hair, right? So I would say you're a seasoned vet, but I always appreciate even vets having new endeavors. So how does it kind of feel to kind of be back in that element again, right? Back a little bit in that sort of student mode, a little bit back in that, you know, new energy mode, that new momentum mode. How does that kind of feel after even like, you know, you have so long doing the industry, doing so long, but then now you're back, it's like, wait, I'm kind of back on the bottom. Even though like I have a lot of equity, I'm kind of back on the bottom and enjoying this rise back up to the top again.
Yeah, you know, I was just thinking about this last night.
Oh, wonderful.
I've got a big event that I have to do tomorrow, and I find myself freaking out about it.
Right.
And, you know, I'm like, oh my God, this has to be perfect. This has to be like that. Because, you know, like there's room for mistakes sometimes, and sometimes there's no room.
I was gonna say, you don't feel like you just have it down now? You're just a perfect DJ, you make no mistakes? Like after all these years, you still feel like you can still get anxious?
I get anxious all the time.
Wow.
Because, you know, what if people don't show up? What if people don't like what I'm playing tonight? What if
But
people...
you're Kwame.
I know, but you know, sometimes people aren't gonna love you 100% of the time. They love you 80% of the time.
Right.
You know? You're only the best you're gonna get of anything that's good is 80% of it.
Right.
You just hope that the stuff that you want is in that 80%.
Yeah, right.
So to me, I'm excited, I'm nervous, I'm happy, I am looking forward to new things. And for the first time in my life, I feel like everything is going to be okay. You know, and when I wake up in the morning, I don't feel like majorly stressed.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this is all going to be okay, and I'm going to do well, and the people that work with me are going to do well.
That's a blessing. I mean, like I said, I'm glad to hear it. Once you unleashed the Kwame Presents, I was like clapping in my apartment. I was like, I mean, you know, kind of a puzzle piece thing, right? Perfect fit. So Now we're getting into the summertime. Obviously, the best vibe for any DJ, any entertainment space. You talked about a lot of residencies that you got going on. We got On Tap, we got Monkey House, we got Winooski Wine that's going on over there. What are we looking forward to in the coming months from the Kwame vibe?
Well, I've also got another residency that I'm starting next weekend, Velours in Montreal, right downtown.
Okay.
I'm going to be doing EDM there, EDM and house there.
Nice.
And also there's going to be more festivals, more special events, you know, that I haven't fully inked yet that I can't talk about. And I'm hoping to be probably, I'm back. Last year I did Do Good Fest.
Yes.
In Montpelier. Next year I hope to be doing multiple festivals. And then the people that are working with me, there's a few of them I expect to see doing festivals as well. And like I said, if I eat, everybody eats. You know, it was Henry Ford said he wanted to pay his workers enough, even though he was a very rich man. He wanted to pay his workers enough to be able to have a nice car and a nice home, because if they do better, he does better. And that's kind of the same thing it is with the people that I work with. I want them to be the best versions of themselves, as always, because I know I'm going to be okay.
And do you have anybody you want to shout out before I get to my last question? Any DJs that you want to shout out, or anything, any people you want to shout out before I get into my last question here?
Yes, DJ Ron Stoppable, of
Always
course.
the big dog.
Also DJ Flat 4.
Nice.
Nyaki the DJ.
Yeah, of course. Big sis.
Yeah, and you know, like, you know, that's the core crew right there. And it's great because we all call each other up sometimes, like if we're having down days, and we talk about the business. And, you know, I had a conversation with a DJ the other night, and she was like, I'm going to give up DJing. And I'm like, why? And she's like, well, because they always expect this and that. And I'm like, let me tell you this story about this club I was at 2 months ago. And I'm like, so make a letter, wrap it all up. It's never going to be worse than that.
Right, exactly.
So, yes.
What advice would you give, now that I have you here, right? I want to soak up as much wisdom as I can for people, because I also understand that when people watch this, there's going to be someone else, right, that is trying to do something very much like that young DJ who's maybe on the verge of quitting or the verge of starting something, right? What advice do you have, 3 pieces of advice that you would like to kind of impart to that person that is going about their journey, either starting in the middle or, about ending it?
Remember your why. Like, remember why you do what you do. You know, I do what I do because I enjoy creating environments and safe spaces for people. Also, always be a student of your craft. You're never too old, or you're never too knowledgeable to learn new things. And last but not least, remember to give back. Because if you don't give back, no one pays it forward.
Nice. Now, I do have one because I got you comfortable, so I like to get it spicy. Is there a particular place that is your favorite place to DJ at?
I cannot say.
Oh my God, I always try to get them. I always try to get them.
Okay, I think Higher Ground.
Okay, because I mean,
Higher Ground is Higher Ground is my favorite place of all the places to play at.
Okay.
Yes.
You're media trained. That was a good answer. All right, I like that. Maybe next interview, Kwame told me before this interview that when I get my own radio show, he will come back and be my guest. So I'll remember this. And I'll make sure to remember that you're media trained. So I need to catch you off guard next time.
Got it.
But honestly, Kwame, thank you so much for coming in and sending me, man. My big brother. I mean, literally, real life, my big brother, honestly, man. So I'm grateful that I was able to come here and speak with you and get to pick your brain a little bit, man. Thank you.
Thank you for the honor. It was a pleasure. And thank you to your crew and everyone that made this show possible. And it's good to see you doing your thing.
I'm trying to follow your footsteps, man. And honestly, you can check out this interview on Kickin with Kachi show on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. Make sure you follow the Kwame at the Kwame Vibe on Instagram. Make sure you check out all his shows either in Burlington, Essex, Winooski, Montreal, or insert city here, because as you know, my boy is going places. Make sure you check out this other DJs in his roster, because the team is assembling and it's going places. Thank you guys for another amazing episode. I'm your host, Kachi, and we're out of here. Peace.